Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hey, another day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, no matter in the world where you are. I hope you're having a great time. So I've got a special guest on the podcast with me. So it's actually going to be my boss from BluTec Machinery. So we're going to discuss uh, being woman in manufacturing and stuff like that. So we've got some good stuff and some good questions. So let me bring her on here and introduce yourselves. Hey, Jennifer, how are you?
I'm well, Dean. Thanks so much for having me today.
No problem, no problem. Um, I told Chase I was going to have you on here because I, I, I was actually looking at the YouTube and looking at some of the analytics, and I seen we have quite a few women listening and watching our YouTube, and so I wanted to really boost that a lot more because there are a lot of women in manufacturing, and I think it would be great to have uh, women from all over different sections or different sectors of manufacturing as well. So um, tell me your story, how you got into the industry and what brought you into the world of manufacturing.
Well, my story really starts with my marriage. My husband, Rob Collins, has been in this industry since we were married. So I'm a metal fabrication wife for many years, and God really blessed us with. My background is actually a master's degree in school psychology. I worked for many years in education. And while my children were in school, I was always able to be kind of at the school where they were. I enjoyed being present in their days. But as they got older and needed me less, Rob had started BluTec and he needed some help, mostly with admin kinds of things. But he knew I was super excited to learn more about the industry and learn more about, actually the machine tools and the fabrication side of things. We'd often been at a restaurant some night and he would say, okay, now look around and tell me everything you see that was made at a shop like what we would sell to. And
Hmm.
so it's always been part of our conversation. And I know some of his best friends are people that he's made through this industry, and certainly people I've been able to spend some time with as well. But I came into the industry in 2018 is when I started working with BluTec, and came on board mostly to help with some of the administrative tasks. He had started BluTec Machinery in 2016. We're in our ninth year right now, which is fantastic.
Man,
Um,
that's a
and that,
long
I mean, that's
time.
a long time,
Yeah,
2016. And
yeah.
so he was at a point where he needed some assistance. And as I grew in confidence and in knowledge, he set me free. And I got to start seeing customers primarily in the territory that you're covering now, Dean, in South Carolina, and
Yep.
made a lot of good friends and still enjoy working with and partnering with some of the businesses that I've come to know over the years. But that's how I came to be. I mean, it was really a huge sidestep. And again, God has blessed me with the ability to be where my family needed me at that point in time. And the kids didn't need me anymore. They were all kind of moving on in their education, but I was able to start learning some things from Rob through BluTec. And it was great because, as you know, as many people know, in 2020, when COVID hit, Rob had COVID. 2021, he had a stroke. And so, really, since then, I've been able to help him by kind of being his voice. Thankfully, the stroke didn't affect his ability to tell us what to do. Right? He can still
Oh,
supervise,
yeah.
but I've
Yep.
been able to be his voice, and that's been a real blessing to me also.
Nice, nice. A shout out to Rob. And so just the learning and landscape of manufacturing. And I know you're in the school system before, and my daughter's a school teacher now, and um, I get the school teacher voice in that. So, but how did you get up to speed on all the different machines, the different technology, lasers, press brakes? Because we come across a lot of people every day that are still learning some of this technology and don't know much about it. So being in the school system and learning that technology, I know Rob had a big part of that, but how did you get up to speed so quickly? I probably did.
Talking to people. I mean, primarily it came through meeting customers and talking to them. I know that I've learned the most about a specific application or a specific type of equipment when I've helped a customer determine, what was going to best fit their production needs. And so, although there's all kinds of information out there that can teach people really quickly some of the specifics about the equipment, especially manufacturing equipment, really you learn it when you work it. And so I learn and continue to learn every day when we're walking a customer through the process and when we're getting nitty gritty on their applications and making sure that we're providing them with the consultation that they need in order to purchase the best equipment for their process.
And so was there a learning curve in the understanding of the technical versus a sales process? Because that's a little bit different, or
I am not a salesperson. That's not what my background ever has been, but I am an educator. So trying to walk alongside somebody to learn what their needs are, help them determine where they are and what their end goal is, and help to teach them the most effective ways that we can find to get them there is something that has come a little bit more naturally to me than any kind of sales would have been. I'm
yeah,
also a fixer. If I know somebody's got a problem, I will do everything I can to try to reach out and fix it. And a lot of times in this industry, it means you got to learn, okay, well, where did that come up? What's causing the bottleneck at this point? Predicting where the next bottleneck will be. That element is not very different from learning a new subject and being able to teach that subject to a group of people. So I think the education background really helped me quite a bit. I love to ride with other people and see what tactics they do and how they introduce a project or work a project. I enjoy podcasts, listen to lots and lots of those over the years.
yeah,
And also, during the time of COVID, I was up to speed. I was covering a territory. I was spending a lot of time on the highway and with customers, but we also, we were shut down there for several months and
yeah,
not really able to do a whole lot of face-to-face. And during that time, most of the manufacturers that we work with, the builders that we represent, really invested in being able to do virtual demos and have virtual training. So that meant that I could jump on with lots and lots of different customers, maybe not in my customer base, but lots of people who were looking at different kinds of things and learn through, being a part of those virtual demos as well. I
yeah,
still think virtual demos are a fantastic opportunity for people who are putting their foot into a new project to see kind of what might the options and the opportunities be for that project or for that manufacturing
yeah.
capability.
Yeah, I think so because it's a lot easier, a lot more accessible these days to be able to do a virtual demo. Um, because sometimes you never know, you could be putting out a fire every 5 minutes in your shop. Now I'm just gonna dial back a bit to where you said you're not a salesperson, and I know a lot of people say that, and I get asked all the time. People ask me, "Oh, don't you? How do you go and just sell something to somebody?" I say, "Well, everybody's a salesperson. Whether you're selling yourself at your job, trying to promote yourself in your job, be better, and you're always in that mindset anyway. I mean, when you apply for a new job, you're selling yourself, so it's not really any different. Everybody is a salesman at some point, right? So, um, let's see. And now, what was there um have you had any mentors or key supporters along the way? Hang on, there's some music coming in somewhere.
I certainly have. And, talking about everybody's a salesperson at some level, you are right. We're all trying trying to put ourselves in front of people, but I don't try to approach myself as a salesperson or approach a project. I really want to find out what the customer needs, because that's why we're talking. A customer has a problem, they have a need, they have something that we want to try to figure out and help fill that need, and then also predict the next step. Because anytime we increase your productivity in one space, we're creating a bottleneck somewhere else. So just being proactive and trying to learn as much as possible is how I have, how I've targeted my use of time, as opposed to learning sales strategies. I'm learning technical capabilities of the equipment so I can share that with the customers. And so that's more of how I've kind of directed my own learning. And then to the current question, you were asking specifically about mentors. You've been a huge mentor. You have software skills, lots of skills, but software skills that you've shared with me over the years, and different things that you've found that have been useful, even to CRM type information. Our team, God has really blessed us with a team of professionals who know the industry, know how to manage, how to manage a shop, how to manage inflow of raw material and outflow of finished products. And so I've learned a lot from just being a part of the BluTec team over the years. And of course, being Rob's wife, he really knows that the customer success is really the top priority. And he just never misses an opportunity to say that back to us and help us to remember. We just want to, help them be successful. Our success will flow from that. So the team has been great, but we've also had some really interesting people and really bright people who've poured into us from the manufacturers that we represent. I've gotten a lot of learning out of McCullough and MC Machinery. We still continue to work closely with them on some of their new products and new applications, not necessarily new products.
Yeah.
Things that can speed up the process. That's been huge, as well as some of the other builders that we work with. And lots of podcasts. I listen to lots of podcasts.
Yeah. I think you have to on the road. And there's a few out there, but there's one podcast I listen to a lot, and it's a Diary of a CEO. That's a good one. He has some good stuff on that podcast. But yeah, so daily life, right? So what's your typical day look like? In sales or in working with your customers. I know you do a lot of work in helping all the guys out, where, which is great.
I'm not able to be on the road as much as I used to be because I need to be kind of close to wherever Rob's needs are. And sometimes that involves medical, doctor's appointments and different things. So my position and my role has really changed since 2021 or 2022. And I'm no longer seeing customers in the field, although I do still, I'm happy to help customers that I've worked with in the past. So I'm primarily doing the inside piece. I do a lot of the administrative piece. I write the quotes. I put together, whatever presentations that might help our sales staff to be prepared to share information. I handle, the administrative duties. So payroll, hey, you get paid, and that's because I did my work. So those kinds of things happen. But my typical day, because y'all are all very active in the industry, and one of our teammates, well, now two, we've got two guys who are up at the crack of dawn. So I may start getting emails at 5 or 5:15 in the morning, which is great. I enjoy being able to help people early up and get everything that they need together out the door. But I'm pretty much working from a laptop or from my the desk. I am at our BluTec conference room, and so we've got lots of space that we can kind of spread everything out. But I'm primarily in the BluTec main offices, handling whatever needs may come up, whether that's somebody had problems logging into their Microsoft account, or somebody needs a proposal written ASAP for a customer. that's where I am best suited to fit those needs and fill those needs right now.
Yeah. Now, what kinds of questions or concerns do you hear most often from shop owners? Because we got customers who call you directly at the office and ask questions and stuff like that. So what sort of questions and that are you hearing?
We have a pretty active website, so we do get referrals and get people who are reaching out through the website, or they find our number on the internet. And most of the time, those customers that we're not familiar with, they're looking for help in some way. They're looking to see if we know somebody who can help them get parts or get service for equipment. So being familiar with the different referral sources that we have. Maybe they're in our territory, which is primarily southeastern states, but we get calls all the time also from people across the country. So, just being able to help them find a resource that's going to get them up and running as quickly as possible is something that I enjoy doing. And so that's the primary call that we're getting from people who are not familiar with BluTec. And then for people who are familiar with BluTec, usually they're looking just for some specific piece of information they know that I'll have. And if they had asked you, you probably would have had to ask me anyway. So they're, trying to eliminate a step in the process of getting whatever specifics they need for their equipment. So speaking of specs, it might be that. It may be that there's a customer who needs to have a layout of the machine that they're looking to purchase, and they want to go ahead and get that schematic. And I can usually help with those kinds of things pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'm gonna customer challenges. So right, how do you handle skepticism or doubt, especially especially as a woman new to the industry? Well, you're not really new to the industry anymore. We've been around since 2016 now. I think before that, Rob was at Murata in
Right.
2015. I think that's when I met Rob, when he was at Murata.
He had worked as a machine tool sales engineer for, really since 1994. So he's been in the industry for many years. So as far as for me, there are a couple of things that probably some people may find funny, but it was really interesting that whereas Rob or you may be able to have a quicker conversation sometimes with people at the front desk,
Mm-hmm.
at a large company, I may have a little bit harder time there. It might have been a little bit more difficult for people to kind of take me seriously at the very front desk. I'm here to discuss, press brake service, or what kind of laser do you have? And I would get some funny looks. But if I went to the back of the building, everybody wanted to help the lady out there. So I could get into customers a little bit quicker by, going straight to the people who were working with the equipment, doing some of that. That was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed being able to, just meet friends, and try to find out if they have a problem that we can solve. And so that was my primary goal all along. And thankfully, my boss, Rob, said, your job isn't to sell anything. It's just to go out and meet people. And so that was nice. But also, being a woman in the industry, I think I needed to know a little bit about everything. Not everything about anything, but a little bit about everything. I need to have enough vocabulary that if somebody talked to me about a handbrake, I knew the difference between a handbrake and a hydraulic brake, and I could, start talking a little bit of the language with them. So they took me seriously. And then just, giving them what they've asked for. I remember one of the best customer relationships I've had has been, I went to a customer I hadn't seen before, went to the front desk. I was trying to explain to the young woman who was kind of the gatekeeper there, who I was and what I do, and the kinds of equipment that we can, help people to purchase. And the gentleman that I needed to talk to heard me. He was in another room, but he heard me talking. He came in, he started giving me a list of things that he needed on one type of equipment. He was looking for a specific machine, and it had to have certain things. And I was able to look at him and say, we've got that. We have that. And not only do we have that, we've got it in our showroom in Concord. Love to have you come up and look at it. And so he pulled me back into a conference room. I'm in there with the owner, the engineers, the head operators, as well as himself. And they start giving me a list of the requirements that they need for this piece of equipment. So
Yeah.
I took their notes, left, went to the closest place that had Wi-Fi, sat down, got their proposal ready, and had that returned within an hour and a half. Not just budgetary information, not a full proposal, but because I had the information and was able to kind of pull it right there out of my back pocket, got it to them quickly, we were able to secure a partnership that has continued, and that's been very rewarding to me. So I think for, especially for girls in the industry, certainly for anybody, but especially for girls, make sure that you know enough to be taken seriously when somebody is asking you specific questions.
Well, I think that's why you see a lot of really good girl welders as well, because they're very detailed, right? The guys, sometimes we're not very detailed. We're just simple, short, and sweet. But yeah. And so I know you've had some pretty good, memorable wins. So and I'm sure you've even had some mistakes you've learned from as well. You want to enlighten the crew?
Sure, sure. The first laser cell that was my laser cell was a customer that, I mean, it just doesn't typically work out this way. The customer, we knew that they were looking. We got an appointment scheduled, went down, saw the customer, and literally that day we got the purchase order. I mean, verbal purchase order across the table and a written purchase order within 12 hours. And I was with my regional. I remember as we walked out of that, he's like, this never happens. It never happens like this. So that was a huge win and a real confidence booster for me as well. But, the biggest wins haven't really been the sales. The biggest wins have been when I've known that the product is helping people. So if I get a call back about, how much time it saved them, an ROI, those things where we know that the customer's really been successful because of the
Yeah.
consultation we've offered and the products we've been able to share with them. That's like a huge win. That's the goal, right?
Yeah. One thing selling a piece of equipment, but selling something that somebody really needs, and then just to see them go gangbusters,
Yeah.
right, is absolute. I was just talking to someone else today, and I talked to a friend of mine from New Zealand late last night, and he has just brought a shop as well, and it's just amazing how some sort of equipment and people just go gangbusters and do really well. That's really rewarding in this job. Seeing that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
I was going to say, we want to be legacy builders in our own family. We want to be legacy builders in our community, and we certainly want our customers to be legacy builders in their business. Not just what are we doing today that's going to make them successful this year, but how are we getting them set up to be even more successful in 5 years and still going strong in 10 years. And that's that may be a different way of looking at things, but it's how I approach my family. It's certainly how I'm going to approach the customers that I work with too. A lot of them are like family.
Yeah. Now, have you come across a lot of other women in the industry? There's a few out there, but it's not as
It's not as common as you'd think. I'm starting to
yeah.
run into a few more engineers. The last couple of years, I'm running into more engineers that are females, but most of the time, you just don't see a whole lot of ladies. So there are a few that I follow maybe on Instagram or social media who I enjoy seeing, specifically how they're growing and how how they're continuing to improve their processes. And a lot of them, like you said, are welding, and they're just very artistic. You know, women make the best welders because they really are very artistic. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see a lady use a handheld laser welder, you're just missing out, because it's just remarkable how different that looks. So I hope that you all take an opportunity to do some of that. We actually had an employee who worked with us who, the first time she tried to use a handheld laser welder,
Holly.
it
Shout
looked
out to Holly.
perfect. Shout out to Holly. Yes, she made it look seamless. I could not believe it. Neither could any of the guys standing around. She'd never had held a welding
No, because
gun
some of
at
us have
all.
had
So
years of welding experience, and then you put someone no welding, no manufacturing background, and on a laser welder, it's like a different game.
it was a different game.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, that's crazy. So as we break out into the machine tech and trends, what types of machines, technologies are you more excited about seeing out here recently? I know you didn't go to Fab Tech last year because you hurt your foot,
I did. I had a broken
right?
foot. Yes.
So,
So I
but
kind of missed out on some of it. Some of, you know, some of the stuff, but most of what I'm really interested in, I've been able to see through trips to Chicago,
yeah,
or, see it on customer floors. The thing that I just feel like is going to be the most important for most of the job shops that we work with. So let me take a half step back.
yeah,
Okay. And I'm going
yeah,
to say, I have a real heart for bringing more women into the field.
yeah,
I've part of what I've done in the past is write curriculum for our community colleges to, help people get certified, get trained in different things. And one of the things that, if I had the extra free time to do, it would be to write a new curriculum for, for how, just the basics. How can we help women get just the basics to get into the field? Because I do think that we need more women in metal fabricating. And
that'd be really good. I mean,
it
I,
would be good.
I mean, and there's technical colleges all over the place here,
Right.
and
Right.
I believe we went to the one that was out at Hickory, wasn't it?
Right. So we've visited
That
Catawba Valley Community College. I have
yeah, yeah,
actually written some curriculum for them in the past, specifically for their English language learners programs. So
hmm
take the basics of what you need to know in a certain field, and give that opportunity for people who maybe English is not their first language to learn that. And I just think that that would be huge in our industry as well. We've got, there's a real need to find employees who are able to show up for work. That's the
yeah.
biggest need that our customers have, is finding the employees. So leaning towards that, one of the best things that I think that's come around is actually part sorters. If you have an opportunity to look at something like the Estes part sorter, where we've got the laser is cutting the material, it's coming out, it's getting the parts are being picked, they're being put in exactly the position that they need to be put in. They can even be put on, the AGVs or different pallets that they can be transferred straight for the next process, whether that's
Yep.
bending or
Yep.
whatever. That is just such a huge benefit for cutting down time, cutting down loss of work because employees don't show up for work, and just making the whole process more streamlined. I'm super excited about that. I personally am expecting, because, and tariffs are around. I don't know how long they're going to last. I am,
Yeah. Oh no.
I'm happy to share my opinion, although nobody asked. I really think that our job shops are going to get really, really busy as OEMs try to bring more manufacturing back to the States and don't have the facilities, or they're not ready to start up at their own facilities. I think that those job shops are going to go crazy. And so whereas I maybe used to have thought of something like a part sorter for an OEM, running lots and lots of the same things all the time. I really think that it's something that would really benefit job shops. Just looking at the ROIs and how many hours you can save by having that equipment is remarkable to me. So I'm super excited about that in manufacturing. Now, for me personally, you know, the work that I do, I think the AI is going to, you know, continue to be a huge help in training people and, you know, giving people opportunities for marketing and probably doing more of the engineering type work that sometimes some of the smaller shops need, but maybe don't have the capacity or capability to do that. So I'm excited to see how AI continues to expand the nuts and bolts of it as well.
I think I sometimes smaller shops think automation's not for them, but I think you can be mistaken. I think because there's going to be some parts. I was looking at something the other day, and if you're taking on a part that's going to be thousands or hundreds of thousands a year, why not have laser and press brake automation? And I mean, especially if it's if you're going to be new company or a new product, why not? Because that stuff you don't have to touch, it can run 24/7, right? Yeah, so I sometimes think automation is not just for big shops; it can be for small shops, right?
I think small shops should be thinking about it because I do think, you know, it's not that it's taking jobs away from people. We in the Southeast don't have enough people to do the jobs, to fill the jobs that our customers have. So it's not taking jobs away, but it is helping people to be the most useful in other areas, you know, so that the job shops can be the most productive as possible. You know, we have a customer who one of the products that we're offering also is the handheld laser welding, you know, and that's helping some people with finishing, you know, cutting some time off. Now I have a customer who is saving like a month of production off of one part that he's doing because of having the right finishing, the right setup that's giving him the right finish, that he's not having to do all the extra things. So if you can save some time on your end result, I mean, it's just going to increase your productivity. It's going to increase your bottom dollar.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think automation is the way to go. You got to seriously think about it. I mean, especially in today's age where we want to have manufacturing and keep manufacturing around, I think automation will help alleviate some of that. Yeah, because I don't know. There's not a lot of people coming out of school saying, I want to be a press brake operator. I want to be a welder or I don't, you know. So I think automation picks up on some of that slack, right?
Absolutely.
And we, you know, some people probably hate me, but we all don't have to go to university. All right. So you can learn a lot in a
If you
shop.
can come out of, if you can come out of a local community college or an apprenticeship program, not in debt, already earning $22 an hour, think about the increased productivity and money over the course of your life versus, you know, maybe 4 or 6 years of school and a nice, you know, a nice payment for, you know, the next 20 or 30 years to get that paid off. I'm a big school person. I love higher education. I love helping people find out the best way to get their end result. And sometimes that is a 4-year degree or a 6-year degree or further, but a lot of times people want to be productive. They want to know that when they lay down at night, they've done a good job that day and that they're supporting themselves and they're supporting their family. And, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for that in metal fabrication.
Yeah,
Like you said,
definitely.
not that many people want to go to school for that. So there is also a huge opportunity for automation to step in. And especially today, when you think about, being able to support more manufacturing in the US more quickly. Uh, Adding automation means you're not necessarily having to add more people. You're not necessarily having to add more equipment, maybe just the automation, the whatever the automation system is. You're not necessarily having to add a huge amount of extra space. So it's the least expensive way to get the end result that you want.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I, I'm just sitting here thinking, are there any brands or machine types you think that are underrated? Be
Wow. Give
that
me an
that
example of what some other people have said.
that's a tough question. That one. I don't even know how I got that in there. I got that in there though. I don't know.
Brands that are
I think
underrated.
actually I'll give you one. A press brake. A press
Mhm.
brake. Everybody says it just goes up and down, right? But that
Not
is
true.
underrated because um, a good press brake, getting good quality bends 100% first time, and then you put it on some sort of robot or some sort of automated welding system. Um, that
That's huge.
to get a good bend off that
Mhm.
machine, I'd say press brakes are underrated because everybody's like, oh, it just goes up and down. I've heard that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. But
Well, I happen to love press brakes. They're my favorite. So I would agree with that. And the the ways that we can increase productivity with the press brakes downstream, like you're talking about, that you've got the correct bend every time, all the time. It's just going to speed up every other process that comes after it.
yeah, yeah. No. Yeah, well, that was a tough one for me. I'm like, man, why would I put
I,
that on there?
the Mitsubishi line of press brakes, those Diamond BBs and BHs are fantastic.
I
With
love them. I love them.
Yeah,
I'd love to have one in my garage.
I've
Like,
got a story about a gentleman who came to our showroom in Concord, the Mitsubishi showroom in Concord, to see a laser, and
yeah,
he saw a diamond 135 um, across the floor, and said, "Have you ever walked into a dance and like seen the girl you were going to marry?" He said, "That press brake, that's the girl I'm going to marry," and he did end up buying that, not that particular machine,
yeah,
but he bought one of them, and it was so funny because just people do fall in love with those diamond press brakes. So if you haven't
yeah,
seen one, please take an opportunity to come see us, and we'll be glad to share the love with you because
yeah.
they're fantastic.
Definitely, definitely. So there'll be a link. I'll put a link below as well.
And
But
hey, I keep a supply of hula girls. So people who buy one of the ATC press brakes get a hula girl they can put on top of
yeah,
on top of
yeah.
the moving parts.
Yep, you guys will have to see the video of it on the auto tool changer. That was at FabTech show,
In
probably
Atlanta a couple years
two
ago. Yeah.
couple of years ago,
Yeah.
actually. Um, so getting into sales again, the human side of sales. How do you build trust with new clients or shops who are used to dealing with the old guard, so to
The
speak?
old guard, yeah. I just listen. Just spend some time listening, and not listening to sell them what you have. Listening to hear what their problem is or what their need is. If you can help them fulfill that and get past that, then you've made a friend.
Yeah.
My goal is to have customers call us, to remember that BluTec Machinery sells all types of metal fabrication equipment, and even to the things that support the sales of and manufacturing with um, metal fabrication equipment. So if we have a customer that knows that we're going to listen and knows that we're going to give the best advice that we have, we're going to find the right product for the for their application, but also for their budget, for their timeline, they're going to call us and give us an opportunity to help them with the next project that they have. And so that's my goal in sales, is to really establish a trusting relationship. And you asked about the trust. Don't oversell. People who are in this industry, don't ever oversell. If you don't know that you can deliver on a piece of equipment, or if you don't know that that piece of equipment is going to do everything the customer asks, find that out before you share that information with the customer. Overselling is something I think happens far too often. And then just communicate. It doesn't take anything to call somebody and say, hey, listen, I just got word that your press break is going to be a week late, and I just wanted to let you know right away as soon as I knew. People respect that and don't mind it when the communication is out there and the communication is clear.
Yep.
So be clear, don't overpromise, and just listen.
Here's a good one, and especially for you young sales guys, listen up on this one here, because this should be pretty good. What's your approach to handling objections?
My approach to handling objections.
Yeah.
You know,
In the sales
so
cycle.
so if we have somebody who we've been working pretty closely with, and we are close to a point of being ready to finalize a project, and we get a no at that point, I really just want to know why. What could we have done differently or better? A lot of times, if I'm getting a hard objection that far into the process, it's because I didn't do my pre-work. There's something I didn't understand about what they needed, what the customer needed, whether it be in their budget, in their time frame, or a specific spec that they have. So if I have that up front, and honestly, those ought to be the first kinds of questions that you ask. What are you hoping to accomplish? And then listen. What's your time frame? And write it down. And do you have a budget? Is this already budgeted? If you get those three questions answered early on, you don't often have a hard objection later on down the road. You may get it early if we're comparing, I don't know, something that, like, for tooling, maybe somebody has specific tooling or specific software that they want to continue using or something like that. But we don't tend to get a lot of hard objections after we've really gotten ourselves into a project. And if you get one, then you just say, I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. I look forward to partnering with you again in the future, and I'll be keeping in touch because I want to see how this turns out for you. I'm glad you found the machine, the equipment that's going to make your production even better.
How do you balance being technical, knowledgeable, while also making sales approachable?
I think a female is especially good at this job, because I think it all just really goes back to we're pretty social. We want to make people happy. We want to make sure that we're giving the information that people need, and I think all people are like that. There's not much of a balance to it. There's a lot of things I don't know. I don't make any claims to know, but if I don't know it, I'll find it out for you, and I'll get that information back to you. So the technical piece doesn't really need a whole lot of balance from me. I just kind of make sure that I know what your specs are, and know what you need, and go find that information out. We've got lots of people who are incredibly brilliant and incredibly bright, who can help with things that maybe as they become more technical, than if I'm not comfortable talking about it, I can connect people there also. And I think ladies are especially good at that also, connecting other people who can, provide exactly the support you need and exactly the answers you need in the time frame that you need it.
Yeah. Looking ahead, where do you see yourself in this industry 5 years from now?
BluTec is we've been very blessed, and even with Rob's health issues, we've continued to grow. So we've been adding about a territory manager a year for the last several years. So we now have 4 territory managers in the field, in addition to myself, and you know, our product manager for Lightweld. So I think we're going to continue to do everything we can to grow to the point where we're able to meet more and more needs of our customers. You know, our success is based on their success. Helping customers to grow is going to enable us to continue to grow. So as far as for BluTec, I hope that we continue to provide the quality equipment that customers need, the consultation that people need, the educational and technical know-how that people need in order to grow their own businesses. I would love to follow along with what Rob had envisioned when he started this company, which was to have a full service component as well. That's something that we still work with referrals out, but we don't have our own service team right now that can help. But I know that's something that in this area we get calls all the time for people who need service for equipment that maybe is out of warranty, you know, or they just need.
It may not even be our own equipment we're selling. So.
Oh yeah, that would not have been the goal. The goal would just be able to, you know, hey, Dean just called and his shear is out and he needs some help and he needs a PM on it because he hasn't had one in 12 years. And we've got the person that could maybe go and do that and help that customer out. I would love to see that grow as BluTec continues to grow.
Right. What advice would you give to another lady thinking about jumping into this field, whether it be sales, manufacturing? What advice would you give them?
Have fun. Have fun. Life is too short not to have fun. You know, be yourself and learn as much as you can as the project needs arise, but don't try to learn it all at once. You won't remember it. Create a group of a network of people who do know and who can help you as you continue to grow in the field, and make sure that you surround yourself with smart people. Thankfully, Dean, you're a smart person. I'm surrounded by a lot of smart people. We have
sometimes my kids don't think so.
Oh, yeah. But I would say jump on. It's the opportunities are boundless for anyone in this industry, but for females who are concerned at all about working in a man's field, it's just you're just going to have a ton of fun. Just don't take yourself too seriously, and do try to make sure that you're meeting the needs of whatever the people around you are asking you to do.
Yeah, I think they'll be very surprised at how good this industry is, with women entering into this industry. And I've met some really great ladies who are good at what they do.
Absolutely. And we're starting to see more young
Yep.
women going into engineering degrees, going into civil engineering. I know it's not quite this, but I just saw a girl that I used to teach was in that field. Lots of opportunities for women to work with their hands, enjoy being able to go home in the evening and kind of have left work behind and not have to carry a whole stack of papers home to grade overnight, as I'm sure your daughter is doing now, and be able to invest that extra time back in their families. Yeah. Everything about manufacturing goes hand in hand with being able to support and spend time with your family. I love that about the industry. You get to go home at night. Yeah. Unless you're a salesperson, then maybe you're, somewhere else. But
yeah. But it's still, I think it's an awesome industry to be in, regardless. I've been in it for 30 years now, and I love it. Now, I've got some questions as we come to a close and wrap everything up. We're just going to go and get this one out. And who's better, me or Clint?
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
I'm just messing.
For the people watching, you all need to know that picking on people is the love language in my family, and Clint and Dean fit right in with our family very well because they pick on each other all the time. I love to be in a room with the two of them because the energy is boundless on how they encourage each other through picking. And I would say you're both excellent at it. You're both excellent at picking on each other.
No, I had to throw that in there. I love that guy. So what's favorite machine type to demo or sell?
Oh, I 100% love the demos in Concord and Chicago when we can get people there for MC Machinery. Their lasers and press brakes are just fantastic. I love the team that MC has pulled together. I enjoy working with them, and always look forward to bringing customers in because I know customers they're going to learn something. They're going to be treated well. They're going to go away better educated, and better able to make good decisions about the equipment that they purchase. So 100% it would be the MC Machinery lasers and press brakes.
Nice.
I haven't gotten to do a demo in Chicago. I've not taken anybody to Chicago myself for the the blank to bend process where the laser does its work and then it gets part sorted and loaded and the AGVs carried over to the press brakes. But I would love to be able to be there when some customers are seeing that because it's really quite fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's always good to get to Chicago and see all that stuff. And down in Concord here, where we've got some machines as well. But that's a wrap. I mean, I think we've got through everything, and it
Well, I
was
have a
great.
question for you.
Yeah,
So
make it
kind
an
of on
easy
that same line. Here's my question for you. What's the oldest piece of equipment you've seen that is still in use?
one. Ooh, actually, I've probably seen one, and I believe I seen it down in South Carolina. And I used to, so when I worked for Amtech Engineering in New Zealand, we had a machine that had like we had a little red laser pointer on it. You would get a black magic marker, draw on a piece of paper, and then it would follow that line. And on the other table, it would gas. We used
Mm-hmm.
gas and oxyacetylene back then, cutting a 2-inch plate and cutting a pattern out of it. And I seen one in South Carolina not so long ago, actually, probably a couple of months ago, and I was so blown away by it. Like, dang, I used to run one of those, you know. And it's amazing to see one still out there because I didn't think I'd ever see one of those again.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then another one is I worked in Gastonia, and we had an old Armada laser there, and I was just talking to a customer in South Carolina, and they have the exact same machine that I don't think anybody can run that anymore. I don't think no one knows how to run that anymore. So because I was just talking to him about it, I said, man, and his was in really good condition. And so it's pretty amazing what you see out there.
What you see?
Yeah,
I ran into didn't run into, but I was at a customer's site in South Carolina also a couple of years ago, and they had more than one stamping press that they had purchased in the 50s that was still running perfectly. I mean, it just was remarkable to me that equipment was still doing exactly what it was supposed to be doing from the 50s. There was nobody that, like you said, they could still run it, but there was nobody still there who was there with the original purchase.
Actually, speaking of Komatsu, I just come across a company the other day that has Komatsu press brakes. I didn't even know they had them.
I didn't either.
I'm like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. So that'd be my first as well. But Yeah, it's funny what you see out there when you're traveling, and it's just good to see technology anyway, and see how it's evolved over the years. You know, imagine having something that you used to draw on a piece of paper and a trace, and now we have, like, take the Mitsubishi GXF Advance, and you can
Right.
just drag and drop and take a snapshot of everything. And then when you get up into the higher kilowatt machines, then you're introducing AI in there to correct itself while it's
It's
cutting,
crazy. Yeah, it's
right? Just
crazy how
by the
AI has
sound.
changed.
Yeah.
Right, just by the sound. And that's something that I don't know. I haven't spent enough time on the floor of manufacturing shop, but I know that people who have say you can definitely tell. You can just hear it if the laser's not cutting right.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that the Mitsubishi laser can do that, can hear that there's something going on there, is remarkable.
Yeah, I've been sitting in the break room having lunch one day, and I could hear the laser cutting bad,
Mhm.
and I said, "Oh man, I got to put my sandwich down. I got to go." By the time I got to the back of the shop, it was on fire anyway.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
yeah, bad day for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you can definitely tell when a machine's cutting bad after many years of running them. So, but hey, Jennifer, thank you for your time. I appreciate everything, and you know,
It was fun.
everybody appreciates BluTec Machinery and Rob, and um,
Hey,
I talk
reach
to
out to
customers
us.
every day. So
Yeah. Reach out to us, Rob at BluTec Machinery or Jennifer at BluTec Machinery. We'd love to help you solve whatever problem you've got. And certainly for those of you who've known Rob, he'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, Dean. This was a lot of fun. You made it easier
no
than I thought it
worries.
was going to be. I was more worried about this than a sales call.
It's all good. It's a relaxed atmosphere, and that's how we're going to roll on this show. But I'm gonna see us out and play the exit intro, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Jennifer.
Take care. Thank you.
Hey guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Well, you'll enjoy it. It'll be out Monday. I look forward to releasing another one. We got another podcast coming up with one of our customers, um, and he's going to tell us about his shop and great things he's doing. They are going gangbusters, man, and I think it's just exciting time for manufacturing in the US. Really, I mean, we have our ups and downs in manufacturing, but it's always exciting industry to be in. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, and I'll see you on the next one. All right. See you later.